Namaskar. So this morning I'd like to share some thoughts on the subject of expansion. And I'm going to read from Whispers from Eternity. The poem Whispers from Eternity. I was deaf, but eternity whispered to me unceasingly. My wisdom's hearing power slowly woke, and I heard the whispers of eternity becoming ever clearer in response to my sacred demands. I asked eternity, what do thy whispers mean? The whispers grew stronger, until at last, quite suddenly, eternity answered, hear the voice of uninterrupted guidance. I am God's spokesman, eternity. I have whispered to thee through thy slumber of ages, awake. Now thou art awake, and my whispers will never cease from saying, wake all thy brothers. In sleeping minds everywhere, my whispers constantly work. Work thou with me through living, eternal whispers, that all may hear his voice. I replied to eternity, I will send whispers to all my sleeping brothers, saying, awake, get ready, come home to his perennial peace. And I will borrow thy voice, eternity, when my earthly voice can be no more heard. Then I will continue to utter through thee, oh, listen to his all-solacing soul whispers. I will wait for all, uttering to them eternity's whispers, as my countless human brothers and also beasts and atom sparks all slowly travel toward their own final freedom. Their long train seemingly endless, I will softly say, through these whispers from eternity, awake, let us all together go home, following the whispered summons of his ever-calling voice. It's hard to imagine sometimes speaking with the universe, communing with the universe, eternity. We can hardly grasp 5 minutes, an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year, a lifetime, a billion lifetimes. Eternity. It's big. It seems so vast. It seems unapproachable. It seems cosmic and beyond comprehension. And yet, when Master called, when Yoganandaji called to eternity, eternity answered. And eternity answered by saying, I'm here and I've been with you all the time. And you can hear my voice. And I'm not only talking to you, but I'm talking to everyone. I'm whispering though. Even though the sound of the universe is beyond loud, even though the power of the universe could be the biggest bang, it is. The Big Bang, they call it the Big Bang. The ultimate bomb that creates that huge force of power that creates the universe. And yet to hear God's voice, we must listen for whispers. And when someone's whispering, how do we listen? Can we talk? Can we think of other things? Can we be distracted by other things? No, if you want to hear whispers, you really have to listen. You really have to listen intently. And then if noise is somewhere else, you might not even hear it because you're so focused on listening for that whisper. And this is essentially the story of the spiritual life. We have to learn how to listen. Listening is physical, but it's even more importantly mental and I would say spiritual. And the reason I say spiritual is because it is not just enough to listen with the ears. We have to listen with our hearts, with our spirit. Now, we all know that there's a difference between what a person says and what they mean. They may be the same thing, but they're not always the same thing. And we learn to read body language. We learn to get hints about what people really mean by what they're saying. But much more importantly than body language is reaching in and feeling the spirit. Some people would call it the emotional content, but that's a factor, but it's much deeper than emotions, because emotions flutter. Emotions are on the periphery. Spirit is in the center. Remember that one of the definitions of spirit is center everywhere, circumference nowhere. Think about that. Center everywhere, circumference nowhere. Eternity. Eternity is center everywhere. In terms of time, eternity is now. It's present. It's always present. There is no future. There is no past. It's now. It's here. It's present. It's centered. So if we want to hear whispers, we have to go to center. And we have to go there so intently that nothing else exists to us. And of course, the challenge of life on planet Earth is that it is the ultimate flashing sign. A billion ways to say, be distracted. Look over here, look over there. And even within the own mind, the mind is so jumbled up that we simply cannot see through the clutter. We cannot hear the whisper because thoughts of other activities, thoughts of feelings about other activities, and all kinds of impressions are bombarding our minds with restlessness. And of course, in the spiritual life, no matter what path you follow, you have to do some kind of practice that leads you to the stilling of the mind. If you don't, if the mind never becomes still, then you can't hear the whispers. Many, one time-honored practice, of course, is the use of prayer or chanting. And they both do basically the same thing in that they occupy the mind. They create a stream of consciousness that you become so connected to that everything else follows away. Concentration. You see, it almost doesn't matter what you concentrate on. You can concentrate on a rock. But if you concentrate so fully on one thing, any one thing, then every other thing is gone from your awareness. So this is why we emphasize concentration. And then we emphasize concentration. Okay, you can concentrate on a rock, but rocks are inherently part of spirit, and I suppose you could, the lingam, the Shiva lingam, or just a sphere which represents eternity. It can it can be representative of that larger reality, but it's not enough to do it just theoretically. You have to encompass the totality of your consciousness, which includes heart. So this is why when we pray, it's not, you can just say words, but when you add heart, it sort of supercharges it, and then it brings it to a much more powerful purpose. Because the center of eternity is in the heart. Master said that the center of the universe for each and every one of us is a point of intuitive perception inside our own hearts. A point of intuitive perception inside our own hearts. So we have to be centered in the heart, but we look to the spiritual eye. And this is our broadcasting, receiving apparatus for communication with eternity. Now, this is so central to the spiritual life that virtually any discussion of the spiritual life can be brought to this, to this need to be connected to that place. We think of whispers, whispers from eternity, this must be inspirational information or guidance. What should I do now? But it's literally, potentially, the answer to every life challenge, every situation. God is always present, therefore the needs of the moment are always present, because God is everything. So the key is to understand that if we want to find the solution to every circumstance in life, we have to be connected to center. Now, most of us live in a very enclosed space of consciousness. This is one of you were born into the body, and when you're a baby, it's just like you're discovering, oh, what's this? Oh, it's a hand. Oh my goodness, what can I do with that? It's fascinating. Well, let me see what happens if I stick this in this. Well, I don't even know it's a hand or a mouth yet. I just discover, I don't have a label for it. I'm just gonna, you discover that putting that there is not so good. So we begin to believe that this mechanism of the body is our reality. In the spiritual life, we're trying to expand past that limitation. We see the body as a kind of prison that limits our awareness of eternity, of infinity, of omnipresent consciousness. So we've got to break free from that, and there's numerous things that we can do in order to practice breaking free. Of course, central is meditation. But as a part of meditation, we have to practice expansion. When I first came to Ananda, and I had no practical experience in any of the teachings. I mean, I had even gotten Kriya, but I didn't really understand it. I was just doing it. But one of the first things you do when you come to the village in the meditation retreat, as a retreatant, is you go to sadhana. And the first thing you do in sadhana is yoga postures, energization exercises, and yoga postures. And when you're doing yoga postures, it's easy to, stretching. You're stretching. And of course, later on you understand that each pose has a consciousness that you can attune to, and that there's more going on than just stretching. But in the beginning, that's all theoretical. And what you experience is that, my body is moving and I'm stretching and hopefully I'm relaxing. At the end of the yoga posture session, everybody lays down in savasana, the corpse pose. And so everybody's lying there, and then the leader of the sadhana begins to discuss something that most people have never done before until they get into that moment, which is first to consciously tense and relax the muscles. And then as we do an energization exercises, to consciously tense and then release the energy and turn off your awareness of the body, starting at the feet. Turn off your awareness of the feet. And it's difficult for people. It's a little bit like trying to keep silence. If you're trying to keep silence, you might accidentally speak. Because it's a habit. I'm used to speaking. And so if I see, well, when you turn off the feet, you may accidentally tense them again. You have to practice. It's not easy. You have to practice. Okay, once I switch off and I completely relax my feet, I can't move them anymore. And then my calves and my thighs and my hips and my abdomen and my arms, all the way up, and eventually the face, the ears, the lips, things that we don't think ever about relaxing. And now I'm lying on the ground and I'm completely as relaxed as I can be. And then the leader says, okay, now expand out. Be the whole room. Reach out and fill the room and go down into the earth and out across the neighborhood and up into the sky. And then keep going. Go out and out and out until now just be infinite. And for a moment, you go, oh. There's a moment where you just think, oh, that's possible. But then at some point, you go, oh. I've heard, met many people over the years in meditation, surprisingly many beginners, who have experiences where they just begin to go out. And I don't just mean astral travel. I don't mean like they were over in the corner looking down at their body. Yeah, that could happen. Or stories of people like you might do in a dream, you're kind of flying around and such. No, I mean they really started to go out. They were not, their body was no longer, because see, when you do what most people would describe as astral travel, you still think you're in a body. You know what I mean? Your awareness is that, oh, I'm in a body. I think of this as a body. Even though it's not my physical body, I'm aware of a certain level of containment. And I'm comfortable in that. Even leaping up to fly, that might be scary. But even once you go and do that, you go, oh, well, I'm in a body, I'm flying. Birds do this. This is okay. But if you were just literally to lose that body and to start going out, and not just, I mean, think, size-wise, think, well, okay, I can fill the room, I can handle that, the home, the neighborhood. How about the solar system? How about the universe? This universe is only one of billions. Billions of universes. Suddenly, it can be frightening to people. And many people will actually, if they begin to go into this, they will shrink back, be afraid of it, and then they don't want to meditate because they don't want to do that again. So expansion, the idea that we're going to expand, and this is one of the reasons why the guru is so important. Because this idea that we are going to consciously expand into infinity, it's frightening. I don't mean that in idea. The idea of it sounds great. But how many have ever jumped off a cliff into the water? 20 or 30 feet down. Most people, if it's nice, I don't mean even 5 or 10 feet, but you get up above 10 or 15 feet, and people are going like this. You go up into the 30 or higher range, they don't even want to get to the edge. And many people go bungee jumping. This is quite common. People do the bungee jumping. Once they get there, they don't want to, I think I changed my mind. And this is quite common. Even though they've been told, the reason is, look, your harness has been triple checked. The chances of anything going wrong, here's our record. In 20 years, no one's ever died. Okay? Whatever, your reason isn't enough. Because and of course, if you're in the army and they do the parachuting out, and you don't want to jump, they'll just shove you right out the door. You're gone, But when you first do parachuting, they won't let you go alone because you might not pull it. You just might freeze. You just might lose your ability to be fully present. And this happens to some people. So knowing this, we need to practice expansion. We need to practice expansion. And it's not only for this ultimate experience. Well, let me finish the thought that because it's so big, you have to remember that the guru is already the bigness. The guru is infinite spirit, channeled through particular form. And that particular form's job is to help you go from limit to unlimited. So this is like the ultimate coach, the ultimate helper. It's a personalized presence that has been manifested to help you through this incredible leap. Because it becomes a leap of faith. You experience big, but to take that ultimate step, you have to take the ultimate leap of faith. So, we need to practice expansion. And in meditation, we often talk about the sitting in the silence afterwards. We do specific techniques, but it's essential that we also sit in the silence. Now, it's interesting, and I could say in kind of in a linear way, you do the technique in your body, so to speak. We talk about working with the energy in the spine. And then in the silence, we emphasize expansion. But in the beginning, that makes sense, but over time, you have to practice expansion in the techniques while you're doing the techniques. And you have to get out of this idea that the body is small and the universe is big. Because this is really something that most people never think about. The human body is said to be halfway between the largest and smallest objects in the creation. That means that the human body is huge. If you think about inner space compared to outer space, in other words, the universe is equally big going in as it is going out. That's crazy. It's equally big going in as it is going out. That means that we have to completely rearrange the way that we think about the size of the body and what's actually in there. And this is how the body can hold, not the physical body, but the astral body contains billions and billions, we don't know how many, of little vortexes of karma, samskars. They live in the astral body. And this incredible universe of billions of karmas are literally universes of energy rotating around and interacting to creating the totality of our magnetic resonance, our aura. So now when we talk about expansion, we don't want to think only of outer expansion, but inner expansion. And the key is not so much to think, okay, a meter is this big, okay, 2 meters is this big. No, you can't do it that way. What we do is we go to center and realize that everywhere is center. It's one big center. And in being in center, you begin to explore it. You begin to explore what the center is like. And that's inner and outer expansion. Now, we need to bring this concept into our daily lives. We need to practice expansion, this inward reaching out. If you're talking to someone, if you've got a situation in your life, whatever it is, you have to not live in here. You have to live everywhere. Be in the center of it. If you're having a conversation with someone, feel their center. Inwardly reach out and reach out and be. See, the thing is, by feeling your center, you can feel their center. Center everywhere. It's the same center. This is how the masters can read the minds of others. They go to their center. And if you can do it in the ultimate level, you can be their thoughts. You can perceive their thoughts and everything about them. Master said that he could taste with his skin. All you have to do is bring your center there. Open your perception. Any kind of perception is all the perception of anything. The ability to perceive from anywhere, everywhere. So when we're living in this life, we're used to this. How do people drive? This amazes me. In India, it's people drive like this. The other guy, this guy, he just turned right in front of me. He didn't know or care that I was there. It was just, I did not exist to him. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I know that guy's there and I don't care. No, I just simply did not exist in his consciousness. But this is how people live. Not just on the roads, that we live so in our own thought process. And in many people, and this is one of the definitions of evolution of consciousness, is expanded awareness or limited awareness. So we talk about primitive people. We're talking about people who are very small, people who have not achieved any, a very limited level of expansion. So if we want to expand our consciousness in meditation, we have to bring that into our daily life and sort of practice center everywhere, expansion, be larger, be aware. So notice this when you're walking down the aisle of a store or in the mall somewhere or just on the street. Are you aware only of your body, but are you begin to be aware of everything around you? Not just through your eyes, but your inward reaching out of your perception. Be aware of that which is behind you. All those martial arts guys, they somehow would know when somebody was sneaking up behind them. And you love in the movies, it's just like the ultimate fighter is the guy who goes, wham, because the guy just came behind him. And he somehow knew. This is that inward, yes, it's superhero fantasizing, but it's actually a practical reality. We used to do this. I trained in the martial arts years ago, and we used to spar sometimes with eyes closed to practice this inward reaching out, this ability. And yes, you can train your senses to hear things. They say that people who lose one of their senses physically, the other senses become stronger. And of course, we can understand that as yogis, that you have a certain amount of energy, perceptibility available. So if you have fewer channels for that, they would become stronger. Same amount of energy available. What we want to do is increase the energy and then expand it. And occasionally we practice only on one of those areas, like when we do the Om technique. Now I'm focusing only on listening, where in other techniques we look into the light. So we get really focused, put everything in that direction. Notice when you're walking down the street, if you stop and then unexpectedly somebody's behind you, they honk their horn, or they push up against you in some way, or this happens all the time. People block the aisle. So in the mall or in a shop, the aisleway is a place, it's a highway. People want to move. So if a group of people stand in that aisleway, it's a blockage. But do you perceive that you blocked? Do you perceive that you stopped and acted in a way, and this could be under any circumstance, I have just acted in a way that blocked somebody, that affected them in a way that I didn't perceive? See, this concept is bigger than just walking. It's recognizing how we're interacting with life. Am I blocking others? Am I causing others to be uncomfortable? Not because I intend to, because I'm just not paying attention. Kids are like that. Kids don't realize how their actions affect others. It's interesting. I remember really clearly, it made an impression on me, a talk that Kriyanandaji gave once. And he was talking about the kids and training in school. He talked about maturity as one of the basic goals, of self-development is becoming mature. We describe a little child as being immature, and then an adult should be mature, a mature adult. But what does that mean? Not just physically, but in terms of how they act. And the key is to understand that a child is only concerned with their needs. A mature person is able to reach out and perceive the needs of others and cares about those needs. That's a mature person. A mature person is able to inwardly, whether they describe that inward awareness as spiritual or not, they're somehow able to reach out and perceive and be concerned with first, to be concerned with and to perceive and then of course positively act on the needs of others, so that you become not self-centered, and it's not but omnipresent. It's the little example that in essence is the smaller duplicate of the larger reality, which is that we have to become omnipresent. We have to perceive, ultimately recognize that this other person is my own self, that their needs are my needs, their perceptions are my perceptions, and not my this body personality, but my I as infinite spirit. We have to practice that. This is one of the incredible ways that life has been made in order for us to get this basic process. We do it in the family, when we reach out to care for our siblings, our parents, the parents for the children, the parents for the grandparents. This expansion, when we expanded in the yoga postures, we include the room, and then the neighborhood, and then the whole state that we live in, and then the country. Every part of it. That country includes all the people I agree with and the people I disagree with. The trees that are beautiful, the trees that are ugly. The animals that are wild and the animals that are domestic. You know, the animals that are healthy, the animals that are sick. Everyone, everything. This expansion. So think about this whole concept of expansion, and bring it into everything, and recognize that we've got to stop seeing it only from our own personal preference point of view. We can't try to make it into what we want it to be. We have to give up our own desire for it to be any given way, and allow it to be what it is, but then through perceiving what it is, begin to have a positive impact on it. It's easy to say. I mean, if you're a camper, camping, you go up into the mountains or somewhere, and you put up the tent, and you have the little fire, and you're out in nature. So, what does that space look like when you go away? When you're done camping? Does it look like it did when you got there? Or does it look better or worse? Most of the time worse. But the goal of a good camper, a mature camper, would leave it nicer. Maybe there would be what we might describe as a respectful awareness that they were there. Yeah, you can see their footprint, but it is not a excessive disturbance to the environment. And maybe they even picked up some trash that the previous camper had left, and now it looks better than it did when they got there. This is maturity. This is the recognition that we need to, as best we can, because what were the whisperers saying when Master whispered to eternity and eternity whispered back? That conversation led to Master saying, "Oh, I am going to be a conscious channel to share eternity. I am going to share this central reality as much as I can. Help to awaken." We want to help to. The mature person is more concerned with the needs for others to improve than they are for themselves. But that very act of caring is part of their own expansion. But it's quite common for people to go, "Oh, I'm now going to help you. I'm going to make you change. I'm going to force you to be better." And this, the interesting thing is you sometimes you do have to force change, but there's a difference between what we say a true leader and a dictator. The dictator cracks the whip, and the leader inspires others for self-improvement. And this is the real key in understanding, again, the guru-disciple relationship. The guru's goal is to inspire change. But even then, sometimes the guru can let you have it. Because the fact is that and on one hand, we're going, "Oh, sir, please help me." And on the other hand, we're going, "But not with that right now." Let that come later. And the thing is, because we all have been living in smallness, well, relative smallness, at least in our minds we're small, for so long, we can't help ourselves. We need help. Because the ego's life depends on this smallness. Does not want to give up. So, practice conscious expansion. Reach out and be connected to the center of a larger world than you've been so far. Don't just be here. Be bigger. Be in the center. Let your center reach out and experience larger realities. practice this in meditation, but practice this in daily life as well. When you see a situation that isn't, any situation, practice this 24/7. Try to perceive the center of it. Try to perceive the central truth. Don't judge. I don't have to judge the fellow that I saw driving without awareness of anybody else on the road. But I am allowed to perceive that that's what was going on. That's what happened. I don't have to want to kill him. I might want to smack him on the side of the head a few times, but I don't have to feel anger. We can't change everything outwardly, but because we already are a part of the infinite spirit, and the infinite spirit actually wants to do it the way it's happening. We think that God should want the creation to be different than it is. Let me assure you, God is on the job. This is the way that God wants it to be. So we have to adjust our understanding about the value of what's actually happening right here and now. Because we think that the value could be higher if it was more comfortable. But God knows that that's just not true. Because if you've ever had a donkey that didn't want to move, sometimes you pull, sometimes you push. It's kind of a rock. You get stuck in the mud in your car, you have to rock it back and forth a little bit. And then with this rocking action, eventually you get out of the little rut. And this is what life does to us. It rocks us around. Eventually we get banged, but at one point we get enough momentum in the direction that we're trying to go, and that's which way we go. Sometimes people start rocking and they go backwards. That can happen too. But the key is to understand that we need to live in the center, and that the center is big, it's not small. And that at that center is eternity. That center is God's presence, which is always with us. That infinite presence. And that we can be connected to that infinite presence, even though our awareness is going through this form. Our larger self can simultaneously be one with the infinite spirit, the love, the understanding, the bliss. This is who and what we really are. And when we practice expansion, we practice living in that universal form, which is our ultimate reality.